Okay, welcome back to 2025, our new season for Finance Bros. So today, after a whole entire year last year of a lot of feedbacks from our friends and some of our listeners, we've come to realize that a lot of our podcasts were a bit more formal and it almost sounds like it's very scripted,
Yes,
very textbook style. So this year we're going to do something very different. We're going to do something a lot more up close and personal, and obviously discuss about topics that you and I will be very keen on, such as things like today's topic will be truly exciting because it will be topics like today's main agenda, which is should you buy a resale condo or new launch condo, and obviously there will be a lot more other topics that we'll touch on. Many times it will be things that you will be thinking but don't really know where to start from. Say for example, should I top up my SRS account? Should I also really look at topping up my spouse or my family members' SRS account in view of tax?
Or CPF, how do you leverage on your
Tax relief,
CPF? And so we got this inspiration also through the last season. I think our more exciting episodes are watches and cars. People are more enticed to listen to that episode. So we thought that maybe we are still about the same age as you guys, and I think this is what we also need to talk about, and this is what our clients and our friends tell us about.
So without further ado, I guess we'll dive into today's topic.
Yes, okay, so today's topic, we will touch on this issue, okay, whether to buy resale or whether to buy new launch. So which is better? Okay, so we will give a brief introduction of why we started this topic, okay, and we will also go in view like what are the pros and cons of the resale and the new launch condo. And after which, what we were going to do is that we will find the financial analysis and investment perspective. So what we want to do is that we want to showcase our perspective as a financial advisor. Because of course you talk to property advisor or agents, usually what they do is that they will ask you to buy, straightforward, right? So as a financial advisor, I think we have more things to consider. Of course, buying an asset is always a good, property is an asset, so buying an asset is always a good thing to do. So we also encourage that, but so we need to talk about financial analysis, okay, and also we will touch on some common myths and misconception, okay, and some real life scenario, and last but not least, our own perspective and opinions. Perspective as in we also upgraded our home, okay. So what the challenges that we face during the upgrading. Yep, so this is a whole summarized overview of our topic today. Okay, so let us just start on the first part. Okay, so we got this inspiration also through our friends. I think recently there's a very upcoming and new talk of new launch condo called Parktown Residence. I think Jimmy heard about it before.
Which is at Tampines, this new launch project.
So Parktown, Parktown Residence is a mixed development. It's called mixed development.
It is.
So basically, it's above a Tampines North MRT station, which is still building. Okay, and of course there's hawker and shopping mall just below, and above it there's the condo. So we've seen a few mixed development like that before, like Sengkang Grand Mall is one of them. Yishun North Point, there's also the North, I think it's called North Point Residence, something like that. I can't remember the actual name.
And your Bedok Residence.
Bedok, Bedok Mall above also there's residence. So there are a few mixed development already in town. But why do we want to talk about this Parktown? Because recently on newspaper, when it's launched, it's over 80% being sold already. And the average price of the average PSF of the condos is about 2,000. Let me pull out the data. $2,360, the average PSF. So, which means that if you buy a condo like that, a 3-bedroom, it's about $2.5 million. So we want to talk about that because it's a big figure, and also with that figure, you can actually also buy new, resale condos out there. So our friends went to the new launch. What's that called? New launch place.
The show flat.
The show flat, And then they also consulted us whether they should buy or not. And of course, our friends also, other than our colleagues, our friends also went to the new launch show flats, and they also not sure whether they should buy it or not. So so here we're going to address a few issues. Whether buying new launch or resale, is it better? Which one is better? Which one offers better returns? and what should you do as an investor or homeowners consider. So investor and homeowners are two different things, okay? So this is something for you to consider. And also a quick disclaimer, I'm not Melvin Lim from Property Lim Brothers, and he's also not Property Lim Brothers. So we are just financial advisor, giving you guys some perspective and opinions lah. So
from the other side of the story.
yes, from the other side of the story. So if you want to buy anything, just do your own research lah, and of course affordability. Yeah. So this is a brief introduction, and then we move on. Okay, we move on to talk about resale and new launch. Okay, so some of the pros and cons about resale and new launch.
Maybe you can start from talking about the pros of having a resale condos for a start.
Yes. Yeah. So maybe I go ahead first lah. So I think the pros buying a resale is that basically you can actually go to the place to see and feel and touch and hear and do everything you want, and to see whether you like it or not. Yeah. So basically, if you go to a new launch, right, you can only see on a site map lah. Yeah. You can't really get a sense, you know, where the wind blows from which direction, whether is there any west sun, east sun, whatever direction sun. I think the most importantly is also that when you are there, you can have a feel whether is it near to a rubbish chute or not, you know, whether is it smelly, whether the roads just beside you, whether is it very noisy, whether than highways or not. So you can actually be there, and when you are there, you can feel how much you like the place.
Yeah. And I think this is very underestimated for a lot of people. Like I personally have this very good experience over going to resale condos, because when I was at this particular project, I wouldn't name a place, but when I was there in the morning, everything looks bright and sunny. It was actually pretty okay. It's actually a development that's near a very neighborhood mall, you know, with all the typical food court and stuff like that. So in a day, because the white noise is so loud, you don't really hear much from that development, that hawker and whatnot. And you can't really see a lot of activities also. Right. Everybody's busy, right? So, but busy at work. So you don't see a lot of people in the compound. You don't see a lot of like children going around. Right. Then there was once we decided to go there during the evening just to see how it felt like. Wow, the evening experience was horrible.
Totally different.
It was very different, because first when we were there about 6 plus, right, you start to see a lot of children within a compound, screaming, shouting, going around. Not that I don't like kids, I have kids myself, but the point is, it was not the normal noise pollution. Right? It was like very loud. This is one of them. And the next obvious thing was that, you know, that ventilation from the hawker. That fan that generates all the heat, right? Oh my god, the sound was so damn huge. And the smell of all the cooking. Which is what we didn't saw when we visited we didn't feel when we visited the place in the morning, because when we were there in the evening, everybody was there for dinner, right? Then the thing was cranking out. You can really feel everything at one time. The children's noises, the ventilation noises, and the smell from the food places. It was so overwhelming that we decided maybe this is really not the nice place. And a lot of people always tell you like, oh, you know, it's important just within your compound, so long you know you feel okay, it looks nice, it's okay. But when we were there, the project was exactly facing that neighborhood mall. And on the roof, right, it's a very dirty, not well-maintained roof. So your view down is actually
pleasant.
Quite... it's not very pleasant at all. And considering it was pretty high floor already, it was not mid-level, it's above mid-level. Wow. Even though you're high enough, but you cannot take the focus away, because immediately when you look down, right, though you can look far, but you cannot avoid seeing that whole dirty patch of roof. So that was what put us off really, and then we decided to move on from the project.
I mean ultimately you have to stay there for at least 3 to 5 years, right? I mean, if you don't get it, then if you don't like it, then I think better to shift lah. So that's the pros of resale lah. I mean, you can actually go there and observe yourself whether you like it or not. You can even go at different time zone to see the sound, the smell, whether is it okay or not. So this is the first thing about having a resale condo. I think second thing that of a resale condo that I think is very important is about the neighbors lah. I mean, when you are there, the neighbors are there already, ma. I mean, unless they shifted, I mean, we cannot choose. But at least we know that particular floor, whether you can also talk to the neighbors if they open the door, and they are more willing to share. You know, they can share with you what they like about this place, what they don't like about this place. And so this is, I think, a very neutral point of view as compared to from the agent itself. I feel that they stay there for some time already, as compared to property agent who just been there one or twice, or they can't really say much about the place. So in my opinion, previously I also visited a few projects, and when we go to the common area, the facilities area, especially the playground, we saw neighbors there. Then we asked them, so they tell us about the perspective, which I think is very nice. And what my property agent did is also that he will ask the selling agent, how's the neighbor around?
The neighbor profile.
Yeah, neighbor profile. Whether is it like us, a young family, or is it a retiree? So at least we know what to expect,
Yep.
Yeah. So neighbors are there, and then they give you a very good perspective. Yeah, and I think the next thing in terms of financial advisor, we always look at the cost. Yeah. So when you go to a resale condo, although the price is there, we still have some room to bargain, right? Nego the price, the lower the upfront cost, or if let's say they have some furnitures they are not bring to the next place, they can also factor in everything. I think especially things are like curtains, zip tracks, lights. If you find that the place is really good, is really renovated already, then you just stay in and you save on the cost as well.
Especially things like zip track that can cost quite a fair bit.
Yeah, exactly. So these are a few things that is good for the resale condo. Of course, the not so good thing, the cons is of course maybe the tenure of the place is lower already because it's resale, right? It's not. If let's say it's 99-year lease, then probably 5-10 years has to be gone already. So this is the lower lease is one of the cons.
They call it the decaying lease.
The decaying lease, yeah. And also older developments may have a higher maintenance cost. Yeah. So and I think last but not least is there will be lower rental demand if let's say there's nearby condos available. So if there's new development going on, people like new things so tenants as well. So if the tenants can afford the new things, they're okay to pay Yeah, but of course you still have your rental demand, but maybe a fewer target audience So this is what I should see. Yeah. So we can move on to the new launch.
Yeah.
Maybe Jimmy can talk about the new launch advantage.
So for new launch, I guess it's pretty much about the hype, right? Anything new, people are always constantly thinking about queuing up just like iPhone. Of course, in the arena of property purchases, a lot of people still prefer newer place because new place means everything new, right? Facilities are new, everything is maybe more novel right? From the gyms to the pool to anything new Like I know there's a lot of development nowadays, don't even have tennis court because apparently not a lot of people are playing, right? So then they have like pickleball courts.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Wow,
so they're
nice.
catering to new and developing trends, right? So good. I think this gives people that novelty Yeah. And of course, you also have this thing called progressive payment scheme which means as the house is being built, you don't actually pay the full-blown loan repayment right away.
Right.
So it actually helps you to feel better on your cash flow in the initial years. Yeah. And of course, maybe developers can throw in certain discounts and incentives. Unfortunately, the cons will be things like waiting period. You obviously have to wait for the project to be built, and it all really depends on how fast and how soon they get it done. There are also things where you have to be more concerned about, which is things like your defect checks and stuff like that. Anything new you have to check, right? Yeah. So but it's also not really the worst thing because having said that, it also really means you have the ability to at least go back to the developer and say, look, fix my stuff.
I think there's this like a 1 year kind of warranty thing, right?
Yeah.
So if anything spoils, you can still go back to the developer and ask them to fix it.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of, another advantage of new launch maybe is the repair cost, renovation cost is lower, maybe.
Yeah, you probably have lesser things to repair, piling new stuff in, right? Unless you are going to remake the whole entire thing entirely, hack the walls, retile the things, then of course things will be a lot more expensive. But by and large, if you're not doing that, I think you already save quite a fair bit by the fact that you just have to install lights and there you go, you can start staying in it. Yeah. And I think other cons will obviously be things like the whole entire layout. On the paper, everything planned, it's very hard for you to vision and see how the space and your house will look like really, especially if things are furniture here and all. But I think these are the things that you can mitigate, especially with interior designer. I'm sure they can come up with something to help you visualize their 3D drawings and stuff like that. Yeah, and I think also one of the key perhaps it might be a con, is that because of the hype, right, and because of inflation, generally things are always more and more expensive. So naturally, a new launch are going to obviously be more expensive from an entry point of view, right? Yeah.
So does it mean that when you go to the showroom, if your queue number is a little bit behind, then the price that you buy will be very different from the price?
So for some, I've heard for some developers, they will jack up the price when they can clearly see a good demand for the project. So i.e. on the booking day, before, they usually have an indicative price on the PSF. Then you sort of like, had a price target in your mind. Let's say you decide to buy a two-bedder, let's say at maybe $1.5 million. And that is maybe your stretch budget already. But on the day itself, if you meet developers that are known to price upward when the demand is good, you might end up going at 1.6, 1.7 million by the time when your queue reaches So if you're not ready to top it out another couple of $100,000, you're probably not going to even be able to purchase any property at all.
Right. Yeah. So it's all about, Okay, understand. So that's our analysis of the new launch versus resale. Of course, there are so many other things that we can talk about, but all this that we talk about really gels well with us. And this is what we think, okay? And the next topic that we're going to talk about is, of course, on the financial perspective, financial analysis and investment perspective. We are financial advisor, right? So we'll talk about that. We will try to bring the perspective closer to consumer, like me and you, and we talk about the price. Okay, so what we want to touch on is, of course, during the introduction, we talk about Parktown residents. So Parktown residents average PSF is about $2,360. So for a 3-bedroom premium at Parktown, the size is about 1055 square feet. So that the price adds up to about $2.5 million. Okay, so we break down this number, $2.5 million. How much you're gonna down pay? How much is the BSD? How much is the legal fee? Then so at least you have a feel about it. Okay. So for 2.5 million price, okay, with a 25% down payment, that's about $625,000. Okay, so the buyer stamp duty (BSD) will cost about $94,600. Okay, so and then of course there's legal fee, right? If you sell your place and then you buy a new place, that's another fee. So that's about $4,500 average lah. Okay, so total adds up to be $724,000. Okay, so this $724,000 is the one that you need to down pay first, and then you can buy the property. So the remaining amount of $1.875 million will be the one that you're gonna borrow from the bank called mortgage. Okay, so the mortgage monthly repayment is about $7,900 at about 3% per annum interest rate at 30 years tenure. Okay, so now we bring back, okay, there are two things, right? So there's one down payment, $724,000, and another thing is your monthly mortgage of $7,900. So every month $7,900. So we want to see how much we need to earn to be able to afford the $7,900 mortgage.
People always question, hey, are Singaporeans that rich? Why is everybody flocking to buy the properties, right? So let us see this in the correct perspective.
Right.
In the eyes of MAS, TDSR,
yes,
and income, like how much must I earn to be able to afford such property? Yeah.
So on a very perspective of the MAS, how much you can afford. Based on TDSR says that you cannot borrow more than 55% of your income. Okay.
That's right.
So if you work backwards, okay, the total household income must be at least $15,000. So you can borrow at $7,900. So that assuming that you have no car. Okay, because car is one alone. No other loans. So you just buy your house only, that's all. Okay. Anyway, you buy Parktown, it's very convenient, right? So we buy house only. So 15,000 household income. Okay, your take-home pay is about $13,600. Okay, that's fair. And you minus away. Okay, sorry. This is my part. So 13,600. A part of your mortgage is paid using your CPF.
Right.
Okay. So what you're gonna pay is that in cash, you need to pay about 6,004. Okay, so 1,005 is paid by CPF. Okay, 7,009 minus 1,005, 6,004 using cash to pay. Okay.
But this is from the perspective of one person. So if you're buying as a couple,
then it's easy.
You can pay 1,005 each, right, from all your account. Provided you're earning the similar sort of income that
Right.
can contribute up to
Right,
1,500 into your OA
right,
account, lah, right?
So we give some views about our own customer, with young family, and also how's their expenses like, all that. Yeah. So for a young family like us, if they don't have a car, usually the expenses is about 6,004. Okay. So 13,600 minus 6,004, then you have about 7,002. Okay. So I'm so sorry. I calculated wrongly. 13,600 minus 6,004, that's your mortgage. You have about 7,002 as a disposable income. So you minus away your expenses, average family expenses is about 4,002, then you still have a surplus of 3,000. I mean, that's still okay lah. 3,000, as a monthly surplus as a family, you still can save some, you still live in a private property. That's really good. Yeah. So, and also we look back, 13,600 or 15,000 household income as a couple, I think it's not difficult. Right. Our age people usually should earn around average about this income as well. Yeah, but I think the problem is with the down payment, 724,000. That's the big issue. So we'll wrap up this episode, okay, and we'll continue the next episode talking about this down payment. Okay, so how can people afford the down payment of 700 plus thousand? Yeah. So stay tuned for the next episode on the down payment portion. Thank you.